Okay, again, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. Again, my name is Marty Klosterman with MAM Software. I previously in vast professional services and now moving into customer success starting the beginning of the year. So happy New Year to everybody. I'm glad to see so many of you coming back onto the webinars. As you can see here, I just popped up a couple of informational bits here. As far as the webinars, again, if you enjoy doing these webinars, again, we try to send out surveys at the end of each one of these webinars where you can provide some feedback and also possibly suggest topics for future webinars. Again, I am planning on doing these on a monthly basis and possibly even going a little bit further and maybe doing 2 a month, depending on how many people want to make time for those. So next thing that I want to show you is we do have a list of different topics here scheduled for next month already, but I'm willing to adjust this list as needed. So some of the things that we have on here are some new features that have come out with VAST in the last couple of general releases, such as subtotals, revisions, and sequencing, resequencing screen, a function for average cost multiplier, abilities to set up a labor rate specific by day of the week. Some people like to adjust their labor rates maybe towards the weekend or something like that. Maybe they have a higher or lower labor rate accordingly. And same thing for discounts or coupon allowable days. So a couple of other topics that we've got on the plate for next month, as well as reviewing some abilities of emailing certain reports from VAST reporting via a scheduled task. So if there are certain reports that you look at on a daily basis and you'd like to have them emailed to you or any personnel on your staff, we can set that up as an automated scheduled task. We're going to also look at reviewing sales units and also integration to our digital inspections known as Carside. So just a couple of different things that we're going to review for next week, or next month, I should say. So be on the lookout for the next webinar. Again, these are all being recorded. So again, if you registered for this particular webinar, you will have access to go back in and watch the recording as needed. Topics that we have scheduled for today, I just wanted to announce again that there are new patches that are coming out on a regular basis, and the most recent patch for VAST Point of Sale is known as patch 264, version 9.0.1368. And if you're part of a multi-store or a multi-store environment, the office or the back office version is known as patch 235. So again, if you're not running the latest versions, you should contact support and make sure that you're at the latest and greatest. Today we're going to review some of the newer functions in VAST known as the Enhanced Appointment Scheduler, an auto email option, OE oil part numbers displayed for VAST Commerce. This is going to be for some vehicles that call for something specific. We're going to review the estimate and invoice option, or the ability to remove the estimate or invoice back. So for those of you that are using duplex printers where it prints an image or maybe some warranty information on the back side of the document, you have the ability to turn off the image from printing when you send the email. We'll review technician worksheet assignments and a handful of other options here as far as not printing part numbers on the final invoice, default part disposal options, some reporting options for VAST Commerce, such as reporting missing lines or parts from a catalog or labor reporting issues. And lastly, we're going to review buying levels, which was a suggestion from one of our previous webinars. So without further ado, I'm going to pull up my screen here and we'll get started. Again, if you have questions throughout this webinar, please feel free to type in your questions on the screen, and I will try my best to answer them as we go through here. So again, thanks for your patience on those questions. So for starters, the first thing on the list that I have for today is the enhanced appointment schedule. We've had several requests for these changes over the years, and as you can see in my VAST point of sale window here, the appointment button still looks the same at the top of the screen. However, when I click on it, I now see a different view of what we call the enhanced appointment screen. It's going to look something like this. With this enhanced appointment screen, I can maximize it if I want to, but I have several buttons across the top. I can look at a day view, just the current day's date. I can click on the bottom of the screen for time scales. If I want to look at the day in 60-minute time schedule intervals, I can do that. The red bar shows me the current time. If I wanted to go to a smaller time scale every 15 minutes, you can see that it breaks it down into every quarter of an hour. The same function at the bottom of the screen is handled by zooming in or zooming out in the individual day. So as you can see here now, I've just zoomed into the 60-minute time scale intervals. If I zoom in, obviously now I'm zooming in tighter and tighter, and I'm all the way down now to 6-minute intervals. So you have the ability to set that up whatever view you prefer. I can go backward or forward on the specific days. Obviously, I can click on the next day here, January 23rd, 24th, so on and so forth. I can go to the today view. So if I click on go to today, sometimes it's just a little bit faster. Then if I'm on the 29th, I can easily click on go to today, and it flips me back to the today view. If I'd like to add an appointment to any one of these particular time slots, I can just simply double click on the screen and it will open up the new appointment window for me to search for an existing customer, search for an existing customer by phone, or search for an existing license plate, or I can obviously add a new customer. So for this demonstration, I'm just going to pull up myself, type in KLO. Obviously, we've got Klosterman here. I've got several vehicles on my list. I'll go ahead and select this Equinox, and I can put in my service comments here. As normal, I could type in manually, or I could go by some of my pre-saved, predefined comments or symptoms based on the different sales class. So in this case, if I said under brakes, brake pedal is soft or it sinks to the floor, and maybe check brakes, pulsate when applied, I can put my notes in there and hit done. And I will select brakes from my work type. I've got my arrival date and time. I can decide if this is a drop-off or not. If the customer is going to wait, I could deselect that, and it assumes that they are a waiter. And again, I can manually put in the dollar amounts for quoted parts or labor. The duration of time is currently just set to 15 minutes. That could be adjusted based on the appointment time in your sales classes. If you're not familiar with that, I can show you that, where these times can be modified as a default. In this particular case, I'm going to say that I need to set aside 60 minutes, however, on this appointment, and I'll choose the general slot and save it. And as you'll notice, when I click save, it automatically put that appointment for Marty in the general slot at 3:30 to 4:30 based on the 60 minutes that I put in there. Now, one of the nice functions of this is we have simple drag and drop capabilities. So I can just click on Marty and drag him into the multi-point inspection, and I can drop him in at 4 o'clock on that day if I wanted to. Hovering over that particular appointment, obviously you see some of the detail on that as far as my name, vehicle, type of work, so on and so forth. Again, I can double click on it easily to make changes to that if I'd like. If I had an existing appointment or an existing quote already in Vast Point of Sale and I wanted to tie it to an appointment, I still have that same capability. So a lot of the functionality, the capabilities that we had in the appointment scheduler still exist in the enhanced appointment scheduler, as you can see. So new appointment, I could click on that also if I didn't want to double click on a blank spot. Obviously, I've got work view for the week, month, and so on and so forth. If you prefer to see a list view, we still have the list view where it will go in sequence here. Or again, I've got the timeline view. I'll just go back to day. Now, to enable this is very simple, but you do need to go into Vast Maintenance to turn this function on. So in Vast Maintenance, we go to the icon called Integration Configuration. within integration configuration, you would click on Add and put in your company number. And in the lower left-hand corner here, where you see 1294, that represents my company number. So I would type in 1294. And on the integration type, on the drop-down list here, I would choose VAST. Now, I already have one created here for you. So as you can see here, my company number, my integration type is VAST. And here we have different options that we can turn on and turn off. Now, as you can see, the bottom option here where it says use enhanced appointments, the answer is true. So I am currently using the enhanced appointment scheduler in VAST. If you don't want to use it, that's fine. You can just change it to false and you're back to your standard default basic calendar that we've had in VAST for years. So simply changing enhanced to true, you will have the updated appointment scheduler that you just saw on my screen. You can restart VAST and you're up and going. There are other functions that you can turn on and off here, as you see, allowing a month view, true or false. Obviously, I could turn that off if I don't want to see that. Or the timeline, allow a week view, allow work week view. I'll leave that at true and prevent overlapping appointments. If I don't want anybody to double down, then obviously I could turn that on to true and I could not overlap any existing appointments. I prefer to leave that as false and I'll adjust as needed. But now with these subtle changes here, if I save that and close and go back into VAST, I'll click on my appointment screen and now we see here we don't have the month view and we don't have some of the grid views and things like that that I just turned off. If I close out of that again, integration configurations, back into the one for VAST, and if I said false on use enhanced appointment schedule and go back into VAST, well, now clearly I'm back to my basic appointment screen that you've known for years. And I will turn that back on. That is the only thing that you need to do to enable the new appointment screen. Let's see here. A couple of questions I'm going to quickly review here. Let's see here. How can I tell what version we have? Good question. So Jimmy, anytime you're in VAST, if you go to the point of sale module here and click on About at the bottom of your screen, it will open up and it'll tell you the general info and what VAST retail version you're running. As you can see on my machine here, I'm running VAST 9.0.12.7 or 1072. The last three characters there, the 264, represent the patch number. Okay, and obviously you can see that I installed that just about a week or so ago. Next question that I've got on the list here, can you please share the release notes for the new patch? Yes, actually, as a matter of fact, all of you, if you are not already set up to use what we call the Salesforce customer portal, you should get signed up for that, because anytime that we send out new updates or anytime that there's a new general release that's gone out for VAST, if you're signed up on the customer portal in Salesforce, you would be notified of these updates, what changes have been made, and there are also general release notes that are sent out along with that. So best thing that you could do would be to get signed up. You can contact support and ask them to sign you up into the Salesforce customer portal. Question here from Bill. I'm clicking on right now. We do not have this enhanced feature. Yes, so again, Bill, so that's just a simple thing in VAST maintenance. Assuming you're on the correct version, you would have to go into VAST maintenance and enable that. Also, why can't we get an entire day view on the graph function? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I'll have to come back to you on that, Bill. Anthony, question, can you show us the select estimate feature, please? Sure. So let me, I've got my enhanced appointment scheduler back on the list here for Marty. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly write up a work order here for Lou Bonilla. And so if I have on Lou's Tahoe here a work order started, and let's just say hypothetically I had an alignment on there, and now the customer says, well, I'd like to make an appointment. Well, from this screen, I can go ahead and exit out of here. And if I click on the appointment calendar, customer says, well, yeah, for alignments on Thursday, I'm pretty much wide open. What time would you like to get that done? I could go to Friday, look at the dates on there. Guy says he wants to come in Friday at 1 o'clock. Great. I can double click on the 1 o'clock time slot. And now I can click on select estimate. And I can find the estimate for Lou Bonilla right here on my work in progress screen. When I highlight it and hit select, it automatically fills in all of the details on Lou Bonilla's ticket with his name, address, and vehicle information. I'll simply click on alignments and save it. And now I have an appointment on the 22nd for Lou Bonilla in the alignment bay at 1 o'clock. Again, and I could drag and drop to different time slots as needed. Jeff has a question. Any changes to the view for overlapping appointments? In the regular schedule, you can only see overlapping appointments in list view. Thank you. Well, let's go find out what we've got there. So let me change this to the 21st, save it. And if I look at the 21st and I drag and drop Lou, now I have a side-by-side visual there on this graph view. So hopefully that helps answer your question, Jeff. Joe has a question. Looks great, seems needed, but is there a roll-up that sums up the appointment totals for the day like the current view? I don't see that here. I know what you're talking about, like where you would see underneath the number 21 that you've got 2 appointments scheduled for that day. Yeah, I don't see that. I'm not sure if that's something that they're going to change. I'll have to double check and follow up with that, Joe. Question from Seth. What is the designed way to start a work order for an existing appointment? We go to existing estimates, appointment tab, but it feels clumsy to a lot of new hires. So if I had an appointment, all I've got here is my appointment for Marty Klosterman here, but I have not created an estimate for him yet. Obviously, I can double click on Marty, and from here I can just click on quote, and it'll take me directly into a work order screen for that particular customer and start an appointment. I'll just throw on some labor for breaks, $80, and I can exit out of there. And now that $80 is on the appointment, and I could convert this to an estimate if I chose to. And again, there's Marty Klosterman. All my information is in there, and I can hit next, and Marty is now in the system as a work order as well as a scheduled appointment. Did we lose the fluid button in appointments? I wasn't aware that it was ever there. I'd have to take a look at that, Anna. I'd never seen the fluid button here, to tell you the truth, but give me 1 second. So I'm going back to the basic calendar, and if I look at, I don't see a fluid button in the appointment schedule here, Anna, so I'm not sure. We may have to come back around to that question offline. Greg has a question. Can we do for multi-store if all the same? As far as setting up the enhanced appointment schedule in integration configuration, you would have to go in and do that for each one of your companies, but you could create a text file and send that down to all of your individual locations. So yes, you could do that from the multi-store, but it does have to have one for each individual company. Seth, existing estimates, outstanding work orders, sorry. Scott, if you have multiple locations, Want to use the enhanced appointment, do you have to enable? So that's the same question that Greg just asked. So yes, you can do that from the multi-store and send it down to each individual store. Ricardo, got a bunch of questions coming in here. Ricardo has, I have to request a new patch in support. Yes, if you contact support, they can send the patch, the new version, new release to you. And once they have delivered it to your server, then you can run the installation whenever you have the time to do that. Brian has a question, are all the times and slots already pre-filled or do we have to fill them? So the time slots, Brian, are set up in Vast Maintenance under what are called appointment slots. And you can create as many appointment slots as you'd like here. You can edit existing ones or add new ones. Bill, when you look at the screen, you can only see half a day unless you, looks like I might have gotten chopped off there, Bill, unless you are scrolling down. Take a look at that. So again, I'm in the appointment schedule. Well, that is based on, I mean, you only see part of the screen, but that's based on how far you are zoomed in or zoomed out. As you can see here, my hours for the day are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. for my appointment. So basing on how I zoom in or zoom out, or based on my time scales, that will dictate how much I actually see on my screen at the same time. Scott Reed, do not see the integration type Vast for my company and integration configuration and Vast maintenance. Scott, I would double check and see what version you're currently running at the local store. It may not be available based on the version that you're running, so you may need to get updated to a recent release. Joe, maybe you could hover over the 21st. It could summit. Let's take a look. So I'm clicking on the 21st and I'm not getting anything with a hover either. So yeah, I'm not seeing a total sum there. So that's something that we may need to discuss with development. It showed it in the appointment screen. Brandon, question, if you have a bunch of drop-offs, it seems to get bunched up since you have to select a time. Any thoughts on where to put drop-offs? Again, you could create your own general appointment slot just called for drop-offs until you can drag them into the appointment bay of choice, possibly. And how do I change the name on the top of the days? Mine says bay 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, again, Jimmy, that's the same thing. In Vast Maintenance, you are going to want to go to appointment slots and you can edit those names accordingly. Okay, so Anna, that may be something specific to your current release. Again, I'll have to follow up with you on that. Sean, can you show us a list view and see if it shows the sum there? Are the colors preset? So let me go in there again and take a peek. So can you show list view and see if it shows a sum there? So if I go to list view, I'm just seeing again here the individual appointments for the given day that I'm on. I don't see how many for each individual. And again, if I hover, I'm not seeing a total. And as far as the colors, yes, I don't have any capabilities here of changing colors. They're just, as far as I know, I'd have to check with development, but I believe that they're just random. Okay. Moving on, the next thing that I had into the system in regard to some new enhancements or new features is an auto email option. Now, in Vast Maintenance, in Controls, we have a couple of new options here that I want to quickly review. Pull up my notes. All right. Sorry, bear with me 1 second here. So in the auto email option here, under the miscellaneous tab, we have a auto email option now. So I went into vast maintenance, went into controls, and under miscellaneous, we have an option for auto email. If that is clicked on, you also then see that you get another option that says default invoice print check mark to false. So that would mean if that was checked, it would assume that you always want to email and don't want the print local option enabled. I would assume that you probably still want the ability or want the local paper printout defaulted, but again, that's entirely up to you. So at this point, I've got auto email enabled. With that enabled, you can also go into individual customers in vast maintenance. And if you wanted to, you could enter in their email address and put a check mark here on email invoice. So that will automatically configure it for this customer. However, if I start a repair order for a brand new customer, I'll just create a customer called test. And as you can see here, I would still have the ability to click on email invoice, and it would store that information on the customer record. But as you can see, if I pull up my name again as an existing customer, when I select any vehicle here, you see that it already has email invoice pre-selected for me. Now, I'm going to go into the work order that we started here a moment ago. Yep, I'll show you that in 1 second, Brian. So in this work order, if I go ahead and try to finalize this, I'll create an invoice, I'll assign my technician, and I will put in my mileage, which are just user requirements. As you can see here, when I select cash or my method of payment, you see here my two options are already pre-selected for email and print. And as soon as I click print, it automatically pops up with the email customer's address. Obviously, I can print it, or if I hit submit at this point, it's going to email future invoices unless I deselect that. So again, I can hit submit, and now it is automatically emailing, email transmission complete. So I would have gotten a printed document here locally, and that customer would have also gotten an email with the PDF attachment for that particular invoice. So Brian Campbell has a question about where do we select the back page removal. Now, the back page of the invoice, the removal, is set up in your printer icon in vast maintenance, and this is only, as it says here, only not to print the image on the back of emails only. So the image would still print on the back of a printed repair order or estimate invoice. This is only for emailing functions. Okay. Mike has a question, will warranty pages be included in the email invoice? I believe so. Any part that is part of that invoice should be sent out, Mike. Brian, can we do this on the multi-store? When you're a part of a multi-store, Brian, when you go in here, you should see the individual companies that you have set up. So you would need to go into them individually at the multi-store and make those changes. So as you know, you've got your company icon or your little company button at the bottom of the screen. You would need to go through those individual companies and go into the printer config. The next item that I had on my list here was the OE oil part numbers displayed for Vast Commerce. And what that is, let me pull up my car here quick a second. You'll notice when I start a repair order for myself, and I'm just going to pull up this Equinox again here. When I select that, one thing that you'll notice now is that the fluid button on the right-hand side of the vehicle screen is surrounded, kind of highlighted in a bright neon yellow, letting me know that there are some specific fluid requirements for this vehicle that might eliminate them from certain oil change packages. So now if I look at that and click on fluid, obviously here I see that this calls for Dexos. I can hover over this line and see the additional details on that, SEO20, O20, full synthetic, so on and so forth. So that's just something that they added with the use of Vast Commerce. Question from Seth: how do I print, or how do you print a warranty disclaimer with the invoice? So Seth, if you have a specific image file or a document that you want printed on the back side of a duplex printing printer, we can take that image and put it into a report folder or an image folder, and assuming, like I said, that you're using duplex printing, it will automatically print that document on the back. It's simply set up in Vast. Under the DB Vast folder, there is a folder called Images, and on Images, if you have a file called Invoice Back or Estimate Back, they must be named as Invoice Back or Estimate Back, and they must be JPEG files. And if you have either of these two files in place in this particular folder, it would print this particular image on the back side of your estimate or your invoice. So let me see if mine will come up here. So here's just a kind of a generic invoice back. So information about your warranty, your disclaimers, things like that. The estimate back is quite often used as another form of inspection. So you can have something unique for estimates and something different for invoices. Moving on, the email option, like I just mentioned, the oil part number is displayed in yellow here for Vast Commerce users. Again, if I'm in packages, again, it's highlighted here as fluid to kind of give you another heads up there. So a couple different places where you can see that new highlight if it is required for that vehicle. We just discussed the removal of the estimate or invoice back option for emails. Printing, the next item on my list is printing a technician worksheet assignment. So a lot of people weren't aware of this function. I'm going to go into lose ticket here, and I'm going to add a couple of other part and labor operations real quick like. So let me grab some parts and some labor and show you what you can do with that function. Give me 1 second here. So I'm just going to grab a serpentine belt, and I'll grab a radiator hose and an upper radiator hose and a water pump. And I'll grab my labor, and I'll grab water pump R&R and radiator hose upper and lower, and serpentine belt is covered by the water pump, so I won't do that. Transfers my parts and labor. Okay, so now I've got a decent sized work order listed here. With this being listed, if you go into the technician assignment screen, you should now see an option where you have the ability to print this. Some people would prefer to print this rather than the printed repair order as far as something to hand to the technician. So here's an example, or the differences. Here's just a standard estimate printout with my logo and customer vehicle information, etc. I have specifically chosen not to print my customer information for the technician for the repair order going out to the bay. That's optional. And I see all of my different parts and labor here with dollar amounts and so on and so forth. What I don't see here is how many hours are being charged to the customer for these different labor operations. I just seen dollars. So if I close that and I go into the technician and click print there, let's take a look at how the technician assignment sheet looks. As you can see here, we see the labor payable on the right-hand side of that screen. So when I print this, oh, 1 second. It's going to the wrong printer. Hold on. So when I print that, it will look something like this. I'm not getting the logo. It's just a work order technician sheet. And I can see still the part numbers, descriptions, and the amount of hours, total payable hours listed here. So we are looking at making some enhancements to this, but maybe some additional information, some of the service writer notes and things like that, and what the customer's symptom or complaint was. But like I said, it's just another option, another item that you could possibly choose to print rather than printing the repair order. So again, that's just in your technician assignment screen, and simply click print. Question from Rhonda: what is the difference between VAST and VAST Commerce? So VAST Commerce, Rhonda, if you don't already have VAST Commerce is just our catalog. It's similar or a replacement for the Epicor LaserCat catalog, which is for looking up parts and labor. If you, like I said, if you have any questions on that, I can have your account manager follow up with you after this call. Okay. Do not print part number on invoice. This is something that I covered previously, but I'll show you again. A lot of people were not aware of the function. Again, I'm in VAST maintenance, and in controls in VAST maintenance, we now have a new items shaded in yellow. Let me get back to you in a second here on that, Don. In controls, at the bottom of the screen, I have an additional controls tab here. And when I click on that, I've got 2 tabs, and the one called miscellaneous 2, you can see here that I've got options. Do not print part number on invoice. So that is an optional feature now. So again, mine is already enabled or configured that way. And if I go to invoice this customer, Don, quick question. Are you asking about these yellow items here? Why are the items shaded in yellow? If that's what you're talking about, that is because I have enabled gross margin by line item. So these 4 items fall beneath the target gross margin for the sales class that these 4 items fall into. So that again is a control file function. I'll show you that in 1 second. So if I invoice this customer out here real quickly, create an invoice, I'll throw in an outside purchase, quick like, and doesn't matter, technician assign, and mileage. And again, you'll see when I print this, you notice that the printed repair order does not show the part numbers for the individual line items. It is only showing the part descriptions, the quantities, the dollar amounts, and the labor operations. So a lot of people just don't want their customers seeing the part numbers and doing any kind of price shopping on that. So again, option that can be set up in VAST maintenance in controls. How do you set it to not print customer info as your example? Good question, Seth. So again, that is a control file function in VAST maintenance. In controls, let me find that. Let's see here. This is the show GM by line item, Don, under point of sale. Getting back to that one, and the option that Seth is asking about for not printing the customer info. Give me 1 second. Caught me off guard here, Seth. I may have to come back to you on that. Yeah, Seth, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I don't remember, unless anybody else on the call remembers exactly where that is. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to come in here where we have the ability to disable that. I thought I had it here, but point of sale. Here it is. I'm sorry. Blank out work order fields. So this checkbox in point of sale, blank out work order fields, will hide that when printing estimates. Okay. Sorry for the delay there. The other thing in controls that we've added is the default part disposal option. So again, under the additional controls function here under miscellaneous 2, we have default part disposal, and you can choose from the 3 options. Customer wishes to inspect, retain, or discard these items. Vast always used to use the option for discard, was the default option, but now we let you choose it on your own. On what you'd prefer that to be. So when you are in a repair order, the disposal function obviously will correspond with your selection in controls, whether you want it set to wishes to inspect, which you can see is in italics, identifying that that is the one that I've selected for my machine. But if this particular customer in this instance just says that they want to retain or discard the parts, I can select that, and that is what would print on the repair order for the technician. So hopefully they're paying attention to what the customer wishes to do with their old parts, if they want them discarded or retained or reviewed, etc. So that is something, like I said, that we've added in the company controls option miscellaneous 2. Okay. Couple of other things that I'm going to show you now in Vast Commerce that have been added. Let's see here. Quick question from Nick. Can it be made part numbers don't show on an estimate or print or email the customer, or just able to hide on the invoice? It is only a function of the part number not printing on the invoice. We've had that question come up before about repair orders. You could offer that up as a development request, but most of our customers want the employees to see the part number that obviously they are expected to use on the repair order. So right now it is only on the final invoice. So topics again in V-Item Broker and Vast Commerce. Some of the functions that we've added here, again, I'm just going to pull up belts real quickly. When you are looking up any parts in Vast Commerce, if you are missing particular part numbers or product lines that you know should be available in the catalog. I don't really have an example here. If I said all lines and I was looking for, here's Dayco belts and Continental Elite, maybe let's say hypothetically you thought that there were still Goodyear branded belts that should be available in the catalog and you don't see it here. Well, at the bottom of our screen here, we have, let me back up here a second. We have this blue line here that says report an incorrect or missing line or part. This is a quick hyperlink that will take you out to the Vast Commerce Troubleshooter. And it will walk you through where you can put in the line and the part number and details. Obviously, it shows the vehicle information. It's capturing that. It's capturing the fact that I was looking under belts and cooling. and I can provide information and submit this information to our catalog team, and they will evaluate that faster than having to contact support and trying to work your way through and setting up a case related to parts or labor cataloging. So I can put in some line here, say it should be Goodyear, and part number should be this, and why aren't these parts listed? Put in your notes in there as best as possible, hit next, put in your name, phone number, and email address, hit next, and finish, and it will submit that information to our catalog team. So the blue line here again at the bottom of the screen. Same functionality is available within labor. If you're looking up labor for a specific year, make, and model vehicle and find that there is not information, there is no coverage, again, you can go through the same function here to report incorrect or missing labor, and it will walk you through the troubleshooter here as well, capturing the category and group that you're currently highlighted on, vehicle information, and you can put in your notes here as needed and work your way through that and submit those notes. So a lot of people just didn't notice or pay attention to these new little blue lines that have been added. They've been there for some time, but we don't get a lot of people that have been submitting any missing or differences. Okay. Question, Admar, is there a direct contact for the catalog team outside of that function? It would be going directly through support. So you can go through that catalog function there, Admar, or you can contact our support team direct and create a case. Jeff has a comment here. The capture screen element is not allowing us to save it somewhere. We can retrieve it. Where does it save and how can we get there? Okay, so back in that capture screen, let me pull mine back up here again, quick a second. So this capture screen button, screenshot has been saved to a vast temp folder, Jeff. Every one of your local store servers would need to have that particular folder or directory available on it, and it would need to be available to the individual users. So if you don't have the ability to save these screen captures like I just did here, as you can see, it went into vast temp, v-item broker. I could go look at that particular print screen. As you can see here, I have a vast temp folder, and the file that it just created was this v-item broker print screen. So that would be a question either to direct towards your IT team or possibly in combination with support. Question from Jimmy, what if we need to remove parts in local inventory that are no longer being stocked? That would be something, Jimmy, that you would want to go into. Let me pull up mine again here, just make sure we're on the same page. So on local inventory, I have it coming up telling it to look for Gates and Dayco belts. If you're no longer carrying Gates or Dayco product and you do not want these to appear when you go into local inventory or into parts, that is a configuration option within what's called the Preference Manager. That's an online tool. It's a cloud-based tool for vast commerce where you go in and dictate the brands and the individual lines or product types that you want displayed anytime you go into vast commerce. If you need help on that, again, we can take that offline, or you can contact support and they can give you some assistance on the Preference Manager. Okay, continuing on, next item that I had on my list was buying levels. We had a request come in on previous webinars to discuss the functionality of buying levels. Now, I have enabled and set one up on my particular customer name here, and I want to go into vast maintenance. One thing before I do that, the buying levels here are going to take a couple of minutes to review, so I'm going to quickly also go over the DOT assignments. That way, for people that are not interested in buying levels, you're welcome to drop off, and I'll continue recording. But the DOT assignment, let me quickly do that. If I throw a tire onto this customer's vehicle, I'm just going to throw on these Goodyear Eagle All Sports, and I can right click on the part number for the tire, and I have an option here to capture DOT. If I click on that, I am currently using a product called Tire Metrics, which is a third-party product that we offer, where I can put in the DOT number here and also then validate that it's an accurate number. Let me pull up a quick, let me pull up a quick DOT number here a second. Just as an example, obviously this is not for this particular tire, but you get the idea. So I'm going to put in a DOT number on that first line, and I will click on repeat. I'll click all first and hit repeat, and it puts the number in on all 4 tires. And now if I click validate, it comes up and it says 4 DOTs are checked and 4 are valid, 0 are invalid. And if I click on the green little box, it tells me, you know, the plant that the product was made at, the original DOT, how many weeks old it is, and the week or date of manufacture. Also, if there were any kind of recalls on that particular product. Now, that is, again, because I'm using the Tire Metrics integration. If you're not using Tire Metrics, you still have that same capability of capturing the DOTs and doing the repeat. What you don't have is the validation and the registration of those DOT numbers with the manufacturer. Mike, question, can the tire validation verified DOT number is a match for the manufacturer number? No. If you see here, clearly I put on a Goodyear product and put in a Toyo DOT number, and currently it is just giving me whether or not it is a valid number for that particular product. I don't know if there's any future enhancements set up where it would actually look at the product that's on the ticket and compare the tire part number to a manufacturer and validation. So again, I'll mark down your question here and see where we go with that in development. Okay. So again, the next item that I have on my list is called buying levels. And buying levels give you the capability in VAST to assign a unique price to a part or to a service or to a group of parts or group of services that might be unique to an individual customer or to an individual location. If you own, say, 2 or 3 or 50 locations, sometimes, say at location number 1, you want to charge $90 for an alignment, but at location 2, or say for customer number 2 or whatever, because these buying levels can be assigned to an individual shop or to an individual customer. So if for store number 2 or customer number 2, you wanted to charge them $100 for that alignment, you could do that, and it would default for that customer or that particular location. Now, if I'm in VAST maintenance and I see an option in here called buying levels, I currently have 3 buying levels that I've set up. You can assign a default buying level to an individual store or company within your organization. But if you've created more than 1 buying level, you can only assign 1 buying level to an individual customer. So as you can see here, I'm going into the customer, Marty Klosterman, and I could assign a single buying level to that individual and hit save. Or if I wanted to use that buying level and have it be the default for every customer in my organization or in my local store, I can go into controls and I could type in the buying level code here. By putting it into the control file, well, then everything that you've set up for that buying level rule would then be associated with every customer that comes through the door at your say, second or third or fourth location, if it's unique from, say, your location number 1. So in buying levels here, let's just take a look. Right now, under the one called SUL, I've set that up currently that account code 96046, which represents all air filters, is currently charging a dollar amount of $21.95. Regardless of what the oil filter price should have been for what you had built on the master table, it might have been $40, might have been $20, it's hard to say, but anybody that is assigned the buying level of SUL right now would charge $21.95 for every oil filter under the account code of 96046. You see here I have a bunch of different Goodyear products in here where I've set them up with a selling price of 0. Let me close out of here. To create a buying level or to add additional functions to this buying level of SUL, I can hit Add New. I could wipe this out and create a new buying level. I'll just put in my initials. And here I can decide what I want to modify. Do I want to modify just an individual part number? Do I want to modify a group of account codes across the board? I can do that if I'd like. In this case, I'm just going to type in align as my part number, and that automatically comes up and it says, oh, well, align is a part number on the master table that's associated with account code 977. Description is wheel alignment for van, SUVs, and trucks. And my choices on the right-hand side of the screen here of what I want to do with that alignment. Well, apply buying level to labor price only, or apply a buying level to part price and or labor selling price, or just modify the base price. The base price here would be more for individual parts, you know, like a oil filter, air filter, brakes, so on and so forth. But when we're talking about labor, I would focus on the bottom portion of the screen here. So in this case, I'm going to say selling labor, labor price plus labor add-on. I have a choice here where I could say I want the alignment to be an increase or decrease of a percentage. I could say I want a 25% increase from whatever the price is on my master table. Or I could put in a minus 25% from whatever the price is on my master table. Or if I didn't want to mess around with percentages and I just knew that, hey, for any customers that are assigned the buying level of MNK, anytime they buy an alignment, I want them to be charged $45. Okay, and I can just hit submit. And now I've created a new buying level, and if I double click on that, the only thing that's on that buying level now is the wheel alignment for $45. Now I could go test that out easily by assigning MNK to my name in the customer file. If I wanted to add additional things to that buying level, let's say that I wanted to also charge the customer a certain dollar amount for all air filters. Well, I'll just click Add New, and I'm going to type in the account code or look for the account code for air filters. Find the account code 96046, and I could say here on the base price that I want to sell that at a set dollar amount. Again, I could put in $20, $30, $40, whatever I want, or I could say adjust the base price by this percentage. So if the master table currently said to sell it for 20 and I put in an additional 25%, obviously it's going to charge me $25 for that air filter. So let's test that out here quick a second. And I'm going to just, to make it easy so it's obvious, I'm going to say account code equal to 96046 and make the price equal to this amount, $50. And I've got a couple of other check boxes down here at the bottom where the price cannot be lower than the cost. Okay, that sounds like a good idea. And the price cannot exceed the normal selling price. Well, no, maybe I want it to go higher in some cases. So I will go ahead and submit that. Now for this particular buying level called MNK, we know that the part number alignment should be sold at $45, and any air filter under the account code of the 96046 should sell at $50 in parts. Now I would just need to determine, do I want to assign that buying level to the entire company for those things? Well, I could put in MNK here and do that. Or I can go into an individual customer in VAST maintenance and assign the specific buying level to them. And I'll save that. And now when I go back into VAST point of sale, I'll start a new repair order for myself, and we'll test out putting on an air filter or putting on an alignment. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab that Equinox again. And next. So align and hit tab, and there it is. It came up at $45. Now on my master table, anybody else that is not assigned that buying level, it would have charged that customer $89.95 for that particular function. But because I'm assigned a buying level, I'm getting it at $45. If I go to throw on an air filter, let me just go to Alpha Search here and look up, I'm sorry, not Alpha Search, Special Parts, and look up some air filters. Here's a list of all of the different air filters that I've got on my master table, and as you can see, the original selling price on these air filters were about $34.95. However, based on the fact that I'm using a buying level, I'm going to be charged $50 for that air filter. And another $15 was set up on that air filter for labor charges. And that was, again, that's an optional thing that you could set up in the system under VAST maintenance. Okay, so again, we have the ability to assign buying levels to individual customers, or we can create buying levels and assign them to your entire company overall. And every customer that came in would follow that rule then. Looks like I've got a couple of questions here. If you give, from Steve, if you give a 10% discount to commercial customers, can you apply that to all parts at once in a buying level? The easiest thing to do there, Steve, is actually going to be to create a customer type. In customer types, if you create a customer type, say you're talking about commercial accounts, let's just say hypothetically here under a small fleet account, you could set their sell price basis to list and discount and do it at a 10 or a 20% discount. That might be an easier method of doing that. Other routes that would be available would be to consider doing, you know, either a contract price for them. There's really about, I don't know, we have 18 different methods of pricing in VAST, so it gets a little bit crazy. But again, if you'd like to talk offline, we can look at some different options for you there. Jimmy has a question. Do you have any buying levels? Currently have 1XBL1, but not sure what it's representing. So Jimmy, again, if you go into buying levels and look at like BL1, double clicking on it would show you what is currently associated or represented by that buying level. If it's blank, we could go in and delete it or go in and make additional additions to it. There's no limit to how many buying levels you could create. Will this function work with VEW company customer? Tim, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are you talking about the customer types? If so, with VEW, we'd have to check with Kelly, but I don't believe that they follow the customer types that you have for VAST customers. Don, if you have a buying level with multiple items, can you copy only one item to a different buying level using the copy function? So with that, Don, if I go into buying level 1 and I highlight Let's see here. I don't have multiple stores to dump that to. I think that what it's trying to do is copy that to, let's go here and I'll just put in Don and copy to. Okay, so buying level rules, BL1 copied to Don. Okay, great. Now if I go back to buying levels, I see Don. I see Don's listed here, and I could go in and I could delete individual line items from there as an option. So delete, 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 but I don't have the ability to click and drag here and do a mass delete, if you will. So it's kind of time consuming and a bit painful to go in and do that. Frank, thanks for the help. I noticed air filter labor at $15. Can you add the labor to that account code, or do you have to add it to the part number? So Frank, on that particular item here, let's go back into MNK. I'll go back into add new, and I'll put in that account code 96046. And it finds air filters. Now, again, I could set that up to do part and labor, where I want to apply a buying level to the part price and the labor selling price. So here, where it says part and labor based off of a master list price, I could say I want to do a part type adjustment and make the price equal to $35, and a labor price adjustment and make the labor equal to, let's say, $25. And again, cannot be lower than cost, and submit. Says, hey, wait a minute, you already have a buying level on that account code. Are you sure you want to update it? If I answer yes and hit done, let me start another new ticket for Marty, because now that that buying level has been updated, it would only be applied to new work orders. So let's test that out again real quick like. And so I'm going to throw on another air filter. And here we see immediately how it adjusted my part and labor. So I'm going to grab that, and 35 in parts, 25 in labor. So that can be set up by way of a buying level as well. So Frank, hopefully that helped answer your question on that. So guys, I'm sorry again, I know that we went over well over the hour mark. I tried to keep most of these to a half hour and then a half hour questions and answers, but obviously we had quite a few questions going on in here. I'm more than happy to stick around though if anybody has any other questions, and I'll do my best to get them answered. Again, I can't stress enough that you follow up with any kind of surveys that we send out. Gives you the opportunity to kind of voice your opinion on these and what we need to do to make them better. And you get more out of them, obviously. So please take the time to fill out the surveys. Let us know what you want added. Sometimes it does get very difficult to get into some pricing things because everybody is so unique, but I'll do my best. And if we do need to do some additional ones, maybe I can fill them in between the monthly here. So thanks everybody for your time, and I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you again next month. Sean, how do we go back and watch the webinar? Okay, great. So since you are a registered subscriber to this webinar, you should be able to go back to the original email where you registered and have access to viewing the link. If you don't have the link any longer, send me an email. I'll send you the link to the webinar, and you just simply need to put in your name and your email address again. It'll identify that you were a registered person, and it will allow you to watch the webinar again at your convenience. I will do that. Thanks, Sean. Any other questions from anybody? Feel free to chime in here. Kevin, how do you activate buying levels? If buying levels is ghosted on your screen, yep, if it's ghosted, it may simply be that it is under manager level or owner level security. If it does not open up and become available, even when logged in as owner level, then most likely it's something that is identified in security settings. Under the security options, it may be listed in a category called never used. You can look in here. If you see it in never used, just simply click on it and drag it into manager, owner, or shop functions, and then restart VAST maintenance, and that function will be enabled and available for use. If you have any trouble with that, Kevin, certainly give me a shout and I can help you through that. Any other questions? That fixed it. Good. Glad to hear that, Kevin. Anthony, were you still going to show the automated email of reports? That is something that I plan on showing next month. Yes, that is a little bit different. And yes, I'll have that part of next month's webinar. If you need to get that done sooner, Anthony, please feel free to call into support or shoot me an email. Either way, and we can get that set up and taken care of for you. So it's a little bit different than the emailing function that we did today of emailing estimates and invoices and things like that. Obviously, it's in the reporting side, but I can certainly work with you on that. Dave has a question, how to enable gross margin by line item? So again, Dave, that is in VAST maintenance, in controls, and at the bottom of the system parameters, nope, I'm sorry, point of sale. This right here where it says show GM by line item. If you turn that on in controls at the individual stores, it will base the color coding off of the sales class gross margin expectations. So if I go into sales classes and I'm looking at batteries, here you see your GM or gross margin level expectations, red until 35% gross margin, green after 40% gross margin, yellow for anything in between. So each sales class can be set up with a unique expectation for your gross margins. Let's see here. Thanks to Anthony. Yes, David. Joe, did I miss the labor issue reporting section? That right here, Joe, let me open that back up for you quick a second. If you are in VAST Commerce or looking up labor here, you'll notice I right click, I go to VAST Commerce, and if I choose labor, if I'm looking for a particular labor operation in VAST Commerce and it is either wrong, the time is wrong, or it's just not in the catalog for some reason, let's say that I was looking for a muffler bearing. If I type in MUF, I see I've got exhaust muffler R&R, but I don't see anything on here about a muffler bearing. Well, I can simply click on this blue line here at the bottom of the screen that says report incorrect or missing labor. That will walk you through a troubleshooter where you have the ability to put in your own notes. It captures, the information from the catalog as far as the preference manager that you're using, the vehicle, year, make, and model, etc. You put in your notes and hit next. Put in your name, email address, and phone number and hit next, and it will submit to our catalog team the complications or the items that are missing or incorrect according to your notes. Okay. What version did that start with? For the VAST Commerce labor lookup, let me tell you. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, I need to switch screens. Give me 1 second here, Kevin. Yeah, Joe, that is the same function. Yep. So Kevin, again, as far as the version that this came out in, I'm looking in the Salesforce tool that I had mentioned earlier that everybody should get signed up for. If you're not currently a member of the VAST or MAM software customer community, where you have the ability to see, you'll be notified of new patches and also the documentation associated with that. But the labor reporting, let me see, I can come in here and look at that. Come on. Reporting. That came out in patch 258 is what it looks like. So, which was back in December, beginning of December is when that patch came out. So, yeah, if you're anything, what are the last three numbers? So it looks like you're running patch 202, Kevin. Again, this was released in patch 258, and we have the most recent patch is 264. So that's something I would definitely suggest getting in touch with support and work through getting a new version updated and sent onto your system. Any other questions out there? Okay, everybody, I appreciate your time. And like I said, I look forward to seeing you again next month. Have a great day.